I have to always remember to turn off the volume because then when I go over and try to watch the show, I get feedback. Okay, so we have been sick for the last few days, and so a lot of the videos you guys have been seeing have been older videos that I had already been working on for a bit because we have not felt like doing anything lately. John's been sick, we've been sick, and the weather here has been kind of chilly, and so we're doing the good old December adjust to the cold, be a little bit sick, kind of pull things together thing.
And I feel like sneezing.
You feel like what?
Sneezing.
You feel like sneezing. We have the duck house ready to paint, and then it rained. So I think that's going to set us back a few days, but it was cold enough outside that it seemed like the paint wouldn't set up right if we painted it at this point. What else have we done? We have the bench finished for the food storage. We've been looking around trying to find some kind of bulk money-saving grocery type of store, and so we found a Costco here in Tulsa, which is really exciting. We don't buy retail food back home because we have our community is predominantly LDS, which is Mormon, which is big into prepper stuff. So all of our grocery stores and all of our outlet type grocery places are very inexpensive, bulk food oriented, and so I'm a little bit out of my depth trying to just find a source for things here. I know there's Azure Standard. I know my mom uses Azure Standard a lot to get her organic food storage things. But a lot of what we eat is grain-free, and so it has to be different things. Some of the things we're adding to our food storage are chia seeds. I just barely started using those. I was a little concerned that we wouldn't be able to eat them because they're kind of related to grain. Even though they're seeds, they're kind of related to grain. And so I thought maybe we wouldn't be able to handle them. But we've eaten them in a lot of breakfast cereal with flax seeds. And we've done really well with them. So we're putting chia seeds, flax seeds, whole flax seeds, and we need to find a way to grind them. We put rhubarb in it, but it's hard to put rhubarb into a bucket underneath the bench, don't you think? It might get a little bit slimy. And so what's the other thing? Oh, I'm sorry. I should be going and looking at the comments. Sorry, guys. I forgot there were comments.
Hello.
Okay, so Wholesome Rose says she loves Azure Standard. Let's see. Everybody said hello. Okay, so yes, and everybody can see that we actually have internet now. Raisins, yes, we love to put raisins in. Raisins and honey, and we have been experimenting with a lot of different sweeteners lately. We've used agave syrup, we've used maple syrup, we've used coconut sugar, Truvia, which is a mix of mangosteen, is it mango? Or monk fruit, is it monk fruit?
Yeah.
Monk fruit mixed with stevia, just plain stevia. I'm trying really hard. When I was a kid, I had lots of allergies, and I did something called an EPD shot, an enzyme potentiated desensitization shot. And with that shot, what you have to do is eat small amounts of a lot of different foods, even things you're allergic to. And what it does is that with those tiny amounts of food, it's like you're kind of inoculating your body against the allergy. And so now that we can't eat grains, I'm trying really hard to bring small amounts of many different kinds of foods in so that we're not reacting to foods that we know that are safe. By having too much of them, or it seems, I don't know. Anyway, and I'm trying really hard to focus on organic. So, yes.
Hello, Tom Brown.
And then Large Family Homestead said sugar cane. Yes, and Deep South Homestead, they make their own sugar cane juice and then syrup and then sugar. I don't know if they actually got it down to the sugar point, but I know they got it down to the syrup point. And we have tried sugar cane syrup, and it reminds me of molasses.
We have some,
This is
actually.
really good.
We have some. And I love molasses, including oatmeal.
Yep. And so those are all really good ideas. We went to the natural grocers and we found that their organic bulk legumes, beans, split peas, that kind of thing are cheaper than getting it at Reese's so you paid the same amount for the 2-pound bag as what you would pay for the 1-pound bag at Reese's if we went to natural grocers. Oh, Israel Rodriguez said he likes your Christmas tree. Yeah. They have been working very hard on that Christmas tree. Nice to see you, Tom Brown. Okay, Planting Seeds for Life is here. Michael Gross is here from Ontario. Laurie Family's here. And so, yes, what are some of the other things? So we found a lot of different kinds of flowers. We're working very hard. Sometimes when you only eat a few foods because of allergies, you can actually become resistant to those foods too. And so we're trying, some of the things we're trying lately are sweet potato flour, cassava flour, tiger nut flour. What are some of the others? We're doing the standards that are like the tapioca flour and the potato starch and that kind of thing. The other thing we have found is that if you go to the Asian store, you can get glass noodles and mung bean noodles and tapioca flour noodles. And so you can have your pasta. And what do you think? Is it as good or better than regular wheat noodles?
Better.
It's really good. We have been able to eat any pasta dish that we have wanted to by using these Asian noodles. They have so much variety. And so that will also be something that we'll probably put into our buckets underneath the bench. I don't have the second bench made. When everybody got sick, it kind of took the wind out of my wings a little bit. And then we had the really cold weather, so I didn't get the paint onto the duck house. And I really wanted to get that finished so we could go get the ducks. But real life happens and you don't get it done. Wholesomer said, I've heard great stuff about cassava flour. The cassava flour can make for a very crumbly crust if you're making bread out of it. It's tapioca flour that hasn't been turned into starch. It still has everything physically present instead of it having been. You need to go wash your hands. They're feeling a little sticky. Grandma Liz's Kisses said almond flour and coconut flour and arrowroot flour are the way to go. And we eat a lot of those. You would be amazed at how much of that we go through, which is why, especially with the nut flour, I'm trying to minimize how much of the nut flour we're using. I feel like in bulk, the way that we were eating it, especially in Florida, I feel like it interrupts your digestive system. I don't think we're meant to eat that much almond flour in a day. I worry that it'll bind up minerals. And so that's why we're trying other kinds of flours, and we're trying more than anything, we're just really trying to desensitize ourselves to things that we're already sensitive to, like rice. Ever since I was like 5 years old, I will break out in cold sores when I eat rice.
And peanuts.
And peanuts and corn. I think it has to do with like lysine deficiency or something. And so what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to bring in sprouted grains in a small way to try and reacclimate our bodies to eating them. And so maybe once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, we'll have rice that's been sprouted and we're not reacting to it the same way that we do to unsprouted rice. We've tried to bring in quinoa, but we're trying sprouted quinoa. And all of these things, I don't think you can sprout your own rice at home, but you can sprout your own quinoa and mill it at home and then cook them once they've been sprouted, which when it's sprouted, the enzymes start to work in it and break the seed down so that it's kind of like a pre-digested grain. Ray Parr one said, top of the morning to all your family from Sonora, Mexico. Hello. Alberto Pinto said, dandelion is great to purifying all the body. I have heard that. Gypsy Lee is here. Bridget LM said organic fresh fruits and vegetables. And I'm working really hard towards that. We eat a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. And it's one of the reasons why gardening is so important to me is that I don't like to be at the mercy of the prices, the retail prices that you pay for fresh fruits and vegetables and other fresh foods.
Is GMO.
When it's so easy to grow them yourself. So that's why the girls, every time they go out to play, they bring me back. It's this huge labor of love for them. When they go out to play with their friends, on the way back, they'll pick up everybody's bags of leaves off the side of the street and bring them to me. Huge, huge labor of love for me.
Yeah, and I had to bike. We take our bikes, so I ride my bike with the
They put the leaves
in front of me
on
and
front of their
really
bike.
hard.
And it's really hard.
It is, but
It's
we
hard
have
to see
so
where
many
I
leaves.
go.
Traditionally, hotbeds, which would be the garden beds that are built on top of a huge pile of compost that is hot, traditionally those were made out of leaves. And I'm trying to remember what it was called back then, but there are videos on YouTube all over the place about people heating their greenhouses with piles of leaves, piles of compost. We've heated our greenhouse with piles of straw with rabbit manure on them. There's so much raw material out there, and all you have to do is find the right combination of what you have available. For us, because we lived in a place without a lot of trees, it was straw. We used straw with rabbit manure, but here there's leaves, so we're collecting leaves, and it's pretty exciting. Mr. White says, thanks for continuing sharing your knowledge after all this time. Love and miss you, cousin. How are you? It's so good to see you.
Who is it?
It's my cousin. I'm not going to say his name.
Can you say it in my ear?
Yes. Okay, so Bandana Grandma said, hello, Julianne, family, and friends. Hey, Bandana Grandma. Bridget LM said, lysine supplement is awesome for cold sores. I know, but I never remember to take it is the thing. I only get the cold sores if I've eaten rice or peanuts or corn. That's the only time I get them. And or if I eat something that had a lot of MSG in it, like Doritos or something, that kind of thing. That's when I get them. And it seems more to do with like bad oils. Like if the peanuts are cooked in bad oils, it seems to make a difference. Laurie Family Homestead, too many chemicals in our food. Yes, I believe that is true. John doesn't react to things, but the other day John was at school and somebody had brought food in, and it all looked, what was the word? It all looked very innocent. It was like some kind of lunch wrap type thing, but when he ate it, he broke out in hives and his skin was burning. And there wasn't anything evil in the food itself, but what he thinks is that they had sprayed something on the lettuce, and he thinks it was actually the lettuce, which there's nothing evil about lettuce, so it had to be something they sprayed on it. And so that's kind of scary when people who don't react to things start to react to their food. I think that's when it just gets really terrifying. Bridget LM said corn is GMO. Yuck. Yes, the one thing we have been very careful about is avoiding GMOs. A lot of the foods that I used to be able to handle, I don't handle anymore, and I think it's because of the GMOs. I don't know. There's not really any way to know. Wholesome Root said Willow Creek Homestead makes a nice sprouted wheat sourdough bread that has been much better for Missy to digest. And we have tried sourdough bread before. The problem for me with the sourdough bread was I could handle making the bread, but I couldn't handle grinding it, because then it would put the wheat up into the air, and then it would be on our clothes and it would be in our lungs. And so once I've tried more of the other sprouted grains, like sprouted rice and sprouted corn and sprouted quinoa, then I will probably over time try to reintroduce some sprouted sourdough breads with wheat to the kids and keep it a very tiny part of our diet. But I am trying to teach our bodies that food is not poison and that I will only feed us safe food. Kaya Lee said, Asian noodles, are they made from Asian sweet potatoes or yams? You know, I'm not sure. I think it's just yams, but it always says sweet potato on it. So maybe it is an Asian sweet potato, but they're glass noodles. They look see-through, and they have kind of a sticky, chewy, moist texture. They're very good. But the first time you eat the mung bean noodles, it creeps you out a little because they look like worms.
Right.
Bridget LM said compost. Yay, way to go, girls. That's right. Gypsy Lee said, I have 12 acres worth of leaves and twigs that I can't wait to start utilizing in the spring. Unable to start right now, though, and I take lysine too. Israel Rodriguez said, can pine tree needles work for hotbed? The thing with pine is that if you keep it in a log shape, like the big shape, it breaks down very slowly. If it's wood chips, then my understanding is, and what I've been told by tree companies, so I don't know if they're right or not, stop bouncing, is that pine needles and shavings will actually, they have turpentine in them, is what they told me. I don't know if they're right or not, but that it'll actually kill other trees and it'll kill plants. And so for me, I've always used everything that came to me. And as long as I had enough nitrogen in with it, it didn't seem to hurt anything. However, in my raised beds that are 3.5 feet tall, I put whole logs in. I'm not really wasting my wood chips on the raised beds. What I do instead is I use it for bedding. I get lots of manure onto it, and then I put it into the hot beds. And that way it's kind of inoculated with a lot of nitrogen. But most of the bulk in my raised beds is actually oddly shaped wood that wouldn't go into the wood stove, if that makes sense. It can even be like pallets as long as it's not treated wood. Okay, so let's see. What did anybody else say?
Christy says hi.
Hi, Christy.
Alberta Pinto says olive oil is the best. We've used a lot of olive oil with these Asian noodles. We tried aglio olio, which is, I believe, an Italian dish, and literally you're using like a cup of olive oil if you're feeding a family, because you want so much oil in that and you want it to coat the noodles. And so it's been delicious.
You should tell them what you told me yesterday.
What's that, honey?
That our pivot point was of a movie.
We had some interesting pivot points. I saw a movie,
The family.
oh, The Family, with Robert De Niro and Michelle Pfeiffer. The point where she's talking about how the French, she's like, how did I say it?
So first off, this
Butter.
is not a
The
PG
French,
movie.
it's not a PG movie. It's really rank. But
Right.
it's beautiful. The story's beautiful. It's called The Family. And so they're in France hiding out, and she's like, butter. The French eat butter on everything. And she's like, but olive oil, it coats your arteries. And she's so funny, and she has like a cup of olive oil on these peppers that she made up for the people that are protecting them. But you have all these really healthy cultures. The French, they eat a lot of cream, they eat a lot of butter, and they're very healthy. And then you have the Italians that are eating a lot of olive oil, lots of olive oil. And is it lots of pig?
Well, yeah,
Oh, that's right, because of that's right, the special, what is it called? The special hams. Anyway,
Prosciutto.
right, the prosciutto, but it's a particular kind of ham. Anyway. What do you need, honey?
I just want to sit.
You just want to sit right there and bump the table?
No.
Here, let's put your little face in it. Okay, now that everybody has derailed the train, what were we talking about?
Health food. Cups of olive oil.
Oh,
Noodles.
so it was a really strange thing to me to think, okay, I don't like how olive oil tastes, because as a kid, we always bought really cheap olive oil, like the gallon type olive oil that's kind of greeny yellow. And so when I was watching Binging with Babish, and he did aglio olio, which is an Italian noodle dish that has tons of olive oil in it, and it has sliced garlic and a little bit of Parmesan cheese and red chili peppers. And when it told me how much oil to add, I really resisted it, but I'm like, I'm just going to make the recipe the way that it says I'm supposed to make it. And oh my gosh, it's going to be coated in oil, and it's going to be so gross. And we made it, and it was so good. And we didn't gain 15 pounds over the one meal. And that was when I kind of had this epiphany. I watched more of Binging with Babish, and I'm like, he's adding a lot of oil when he does these Italian dishes. And now I'm not afraid of the oil. We go through, how much oil do we go through? We go through so much oil.
So much.
And
it's not the cheap oil.
It's not the cheap oil, but we feel really good. We have avocado oil, grapeseed oil, really good olive oil. Am I missing anything?
Coconut oil.
Oh, the toasted sesame oil. What else do we
Sesame
have?
seed oil.
1030 weight.
Not 1030 weight.
Amizos. Liquid amizos.
Yeah, but that's not oil.
Oh.
So we have all this much larger range of oils to use, and it's improving how our food tastes. And I don't feel like we are at a disadvantage at all in what we're eating now. I feel like we eat more delicious food than we did before we had to go off grains. And I feel really blessed by that. And it's not necessarily, I think, that they're inventing new things, although they are. The new flowers and everything, they're new. But a lot of the dishes we're finding that we can eat are traditional in other cultures. And so by taking different pieces from other cultures, we're able to eat a tremendous amount of food. And it's really delicious. Correct? We had carbonara, pasta carbonara yesterday. And it was amazing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
They can't see you shake your head.
Right. Okay. What? You can't hear the nodding?
I can't hear the nodding.
What if I shake my head?
Another new thing was the kimchi. The kimchi was a huge breakthrough for me because I didn't really like sauerkraut. My mom used to make a radish kimchi that was to die for. It was so good. But she hasn't made it in a long time. And I never learned how to make it. And so when Sammy taught me how to make the kimchi, I add it to everything now. And if the batch doesn't turn out right, then I use it in the cooking. I would rather have some
You
that's...
even add it to ice cream.
I don't add it to ice cream.
We add it to eggs.
I add it to eggs. I add it to pasta. I add it to soup. I add it to just about everything.
Pizza.
Yeah, and Melanie from the Honeydew Carpenter, she adds it to her pizza. But if I have a batch that doesn't work, I use it in my cooking as flavoring. And if I have a batch that works really well, I eat it raw. That's kind of how it works. Bridget LM said almost all food is toxic. Glyphosate, neonicotinoids, modified. It's so bad. Yep. Which is why we have the channel. We're trying to be really positive and say, okay, our little homestead was 1.5 acres. And on that 1.5 acres, we raised almost all of our own food. We could go for months without getting groceries. We chose to still go and get groceries because we were crazy. We had like 3 years worth of food storage, but every week we still added to that food storage, right?
Right.
It was nuts.
Because we were going for 5 years.
We were going for 5 years.
I mean, the 3 years was rotting and falling apart.
It
We
was.
were going to go for 5 years.
It's so much food storage. So we believe in living on your food storage, that you have your bulk storage and you rotate through it. We ended up going for 5 years, feeding our poultry for 5 years from the grain that came from my parents' food storage that we never got through when I was a kid. So that was a blessing. It didn't go to waste. It went to all our livestock, but back to the story. Okay, so we had freezers full of meat from the animals we'd raised, and we had the milk goats that gave us more milk than we knew what to do with, and we would raise lambs every year with that milk, and we would raise pigs, and we would feed it to our chickens. And then we had our raised beds, and then we had our greenhouses and the rabbits, and 3/4 of what we fed our rabbits came from our property in tree trimmings, gleanings from the garden, that kind of thing. And then the ducks would eat the slugs that were in our deep mulch system, so we didn't have slugs in our deep mulch system, and it was an entire ecosystem. We did that on 1.5 acres, and we still had property that we weren't using. We had, I don't know, at least 1/2 acre that we weren't really putting to any use. We were just experimenting in it. So what I'm trying to say is that you can grow a significant amount of your own food even in a tiny spot, and that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to get garden beds set up to show just how many garden beds will fit in a tiny space. How many rabbits can you raise in a tiny space? Who took my tea? Did anybody take my? Did you take my tea?
Your youngest is right behind you with the cup.
Did you drink it, you sicko? Did you? You did. Darn it. No, I can't drink it. I'm not nearly as sick as they are yet, so I'm trying to avoid their spit. Laurie Family Homestead said, every time Caitlin eats wheat, she breaks out. That is awful. Kylie said, yes, I know the noodles. I eat them a lot. We think they're fantastic. Okay, guys, I'm trying to get through your comments. I'm not sure I know I'm not doing a good job. Okay, Gypsy Lee said, Julianne, do you cook with cast iron? Do you have a reaction to it? We do cook with cast iron and with pressure cookers. Oh my goodness, I have missed so many comments.
Sorry, guys.
Hit the blue button.
No, I can't hit the blue button. I can't miss them.
Can.
Okay, Jenny Curtis said
20-minute-old conversation. It's long since passed, and you're like, oh, let me chime in on that.
I know, I can't do it. So many good comments. You can order non-GMO corn seed from Baker's Creek Seed Company. By the way, we're going there in May to hang out with Doug and Stacy. If you know Off Grid with Doug and Stacy, we're going to go to Baker's Creek in May and hang out with them. And so Fenster Farm, how are you? If you want to see some amazing greenhouse videos, you should go see Fenster Farm. Bridget, I plan to grow. Okay, let's see. That one is addressed to somebody else. Gypsy Lee said, I grow herbs inside now, winter, but we'll plant them outside in the spring. I need to do that. I have my seeds from Michigan Gardener that I ordered. If you want to get seeds from them, you need to get them now because they sell out really quickly. I don't know if I have my link below. I am affiliated with them. I don't know if it's there or not. I should go look. That would be the responsible thing for me to do. And that gives you like, I think it gives you like a 10% discount if you get it with my code, but it probably isn't there. It should be. All right.
How we do business.
That's how we do business. I do everything after it could do you any good. Bridget LM says coffee grounds, Amy leaf pile, and tree mulch is out of balance the first year unless you supplement other items, nitrogen, magnesium, lime, etc. So with my leaf piles and with my raised beds, I'm not searching for balance in them. What I'm doing is I just want them to heat up. All my growing medium is at the top, like 6 inches, and everything under that, I'm just using it to create heat. I do layer nitrogen in there, but it's only because I'm trying to create heat. And what will happen is over time, that'll break down, and then you just add another layer. And eventually, what you have at the bottom is just going to be amazing compost. But I like to put in logs because then it slows things down and it's not as high of a burn. But yes, you're completely correct. A leaf pile does not have balanced nutrition to actually grow anything in, which is why it's just a really big compost pile with my growing medium on the very top. Oh, my book. I need my book. Hold on. Paige, talk for a minute.
Hi guys.
Howdy, folks.
So.
Okay, move over, kiddo.
Aww.
Okay,
That was a
so
good show, girl. Good job.
so these are my 2 pivotal books. These are my 2 pivotal books that taught me how to do this. So first off, hotbeds. It teaches you how to use a hotbed system to keep your, stop bumping the table, kiddo. So this is on how to do hotbeds, and this one is on how to raise your garden up to your level. And you don't weed or do anything in this one, but you can see she's working at waist level. And this worked so well for us, but it takes a lot of carbon to fill up a box to your waist. And so again, what I would use is actual logs. I would put logs inside my raised bed to raise my garden bed up. The logs will break down over time, but they won't break down as quickly as, say, a leaf pile. Leaves would work really well to heat a pile up, though. So I have other books that are not as modern as this that are on about hotbeds. Honey, if you can't stop bumping the table, I'm going to make you go out. Can you, in fact, go sit by Dad. Go sit by Dad. I love you so much. Take my tea with you. Because I can't drink it now. Go sit somewhere else.
Tragedy.
Okay, no, just leave it alone. Just leave it alone. Let's get the live show finished, then Mom can make herself some tea. Parma ham. Is that what it is, Rhonda? Rhonda Calderon said it's Parma ham. Okay, Bridget LM said.
Isn't that a cheese?
Parmesan?
Yeah, sure.
You're funny.
But not.
Okay, so which? Okay, Fenster Farm, what did you say? Not a fan of the taste either. Oh, I'm really far behind.
So I'm saying
Olive oil.
Old conversation.
I'm sorry. I'm going to try and read through it really
button.
fast. Gypsy Lee said, have you tried apricot? Well, I have tried it on my skin, but not internally. I didn't know you could eat it. Yeah, Bridget said, only a man. LOL, 10:30. Okay. Kylie said, olive oil is not fattening. It, in fact, helps your liver clean your body, and that is why you probably feel better. Grandma Liz's Kisses said, I love coconut oil. Bridget LM said, turmeric is the bomb and anti-inflammatory. Did you guys see the video my mom did about, you're bumping the table now. Go sit by your sister. My mom did a video about how to ferment turmeric so that it was even more bioavailable to you. Okay, Chuck just took off. See ya. Alberto Pinto said coconut oil is also good for your denture issues. Denture? I don't have dentures. Okay.
Hypothetically, if you did, you would know what was good for it.
Okay. Kylie said, I can give you tons of kimchi recipes. I'm half green. I would love that. You should totally email me, dirtpatcheaven@gmail.com. Okay, kimchi is awesome. I need to watch that video again. It is so good for you. It is so good. What's up said, I want to learn how to make kimchi. Yes, everyone should know how to make kimchi. It is so delicious. I also want to make a better sauerkraut, but kimchi is so easy at this point that and the flavor is amazing that I just kind of stick with
And we do
kimchi.
kimchi noodles.
Bridget Elm said, are you storing now? What am I storing? The kimchi? Brown Cohom said kimchi is that dish that gets buried in the ground and fermented for a few months. Correct, it does. You can also put it in your fridge if you don't have a root cellar. Okay, what's up? So what did you do with all your animals in food storage? So we sold our food storage and our animals are with our renters. And we have kind of like partial ownership of them kind of thing. And they're taking very good care of them. Bridget Ellen said, so jealous. Baker Creek is awesome, right? The Addicted Prepper said, I really enjoyed watching all your journeys. I've learned something new from you all the time. Thank you. Bridget Ellen said, hey guys, don't forget to thumbs up this video. Click above. Thank you, Bridget. Let's see. Jerry Roberts said, have you considered a seed saving co-op? You know, we've talked about it before. I know Brad from Big Family Homestead was doing something like that a few months ago, and I think it was pretty successful. Okay, Danny Ball said Serrano ham. Okay, I'm going to try. Okay, Grandma Liz's Kisses said you should ferment your chicken feed. They love it. What we did is we would soak our chicken feed and we would take curds from making cheese and we would put it in the chicken feed along with alfalfa pellets. And that seemed to do really well for our meat chickens. Sorry, I've been sick for a while and I just realized I have no idea how long it's been since I brushed my hair.
Okay,
Sorry, I'll stop touching it. Tom Brown said, what is Mom's channel? It's on my channel. My mom made the video with me and it's on my channel. I think it's just says turmeric. So if you look at Dirtpatcheaven and turmeric, it should be there. Or maybe, I wonder, maybe with that one we,
Like a Princess Granny.
yeah, right?
Princess Granny.
Okay, Bridget Ellen said, hugelcultures with the log beds. I did branches and pine cone compost and soil in pots and planted it. And it's been amazing during year, just adding some Epsom salts and coffee grounds periodically. That is a fantastic idea. Grandma Liz's Kisses says, I ferment cauliflower. Yum, good for your gut. Home Place Journal said, canola oil is not healthy, plus it's mostly GMO in spite of how it's promoted. Bert Skelton said, Parma ham and cheese are from the Parma region in Italy, like the wine regions, the old guy Bert. Okay, all right, so I'm at the bottom of that. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
Kimchi noodles.
The sun here is going to be interesting. We're under quite a few trees, and they're kind of the leaning tower of waiting for a disaster, and they're keeping the sun from getting down into the yard. So one of the things I've thought of, which I don't think would be a good idea because once you add water to it, it's going to be really heavy. I've considered putting my garden up on rollers so that I can move it out into the driveway where there's actually sun. And that way I could do more garden beds and I could just move them and follow the sun. I know it sounds like a huge waste of time, but
I think it would be awesome.
it'll be interesting because right now it's shaded pretty well and we don't have any leaves on the trees. And so I can't imagine. Have we ever been here when it was in full leaf? I don't think we've been here in the really early spring, late winter, and we've been here in fall. We've never been here during the actual leaf season to see how shady. Well, yes, you have. You got here in August.
Well, okay, fine. I was. You weren't.
Yeah. So, did you want to braid it, Kaya? Did you want to go get a rubber band? This is my rubber band for therapy.
But that'll pull your hair.
Yeah. Okay, so Brown Coat Homestead said, did you do a video on making kimchi that I can check out? Yes. We have one on making radish kimchi and one with making regular kimchi. And what I have found is that you kind of have to do it by taste. You have to make sure you get enough salt on one. Are you okay, honey?
Yeah, some dust just got in my throat.
Okay, go drink some tea if you need to. What was I saying? Oh, the one thing you don't want to do is don't get a monster Napa cabbage, because the monster ones, the ribs are so big that it doesn't absorb the salt very well, and I don't think it turns out well. Get a normal sized Napa cabbage, and use that. Otherwise, you're just some parts get too much salt and some parts don't get enough salt. But other than that, do it to taste. Grandma Liz's Kisses said, stay away from soy. 90% in the U.S. is GMO. I believe all wheat and corn is GMO. That is true. I do have some tofu in the fridge right now, but it is non-GMO. And same thing goes for the corn. Anything we buy has to be non-GMO, and it has to be sprouted. Gypsy Lee said, I liked your storage bench video. I'm designing food storage for my little house, 850 square feet. Well, and I'm excited to see how it turns out. Right now I feel kind of like a slug. I'm not finishing any projects. We're kind of at the livable stage before I get a little more energy and get some things finished. The next thing I need to do, Paige, if you need to turn the heat back on, you can.
Okay.
The next thing I need to do is build the bench for Paige. She's still on a sleeping cot that is lower to the ground. So I need to build her bench, and then I need to start looking at secondhand stores for the thick foam bedroll type things and more pillows to make them. I don't think that rubber band is going to go all the way around my hair, honey.
I'm just doing a ponytail.
Well, those are not big enough to go around my hair for a ponytail.
Those are not mom quality, mom size.
You got to do the braid.
Off of her wrist.
I know, it's going to be a
This one will break.
It's going to be a ponytail, but then it's going to be a braid.
Do you each want to take a side?
No, not really.
Because I think that if you don't braid it, the rubber band's going to break.
I'll just braid it then.
Okay, then you braid it.
Can I braid it too?
Do you guys want to take turns? You're welcome to take turns. But I think it's, what, honey? She'll take the first one? Okay. Okay, let me see what that said. Okay, Miss Justice 007. I watched most of your videos and love them. Thank you. The one I can't find is a tour of your tiny home. Thank you. Susan near Chicago. Much love. Okay, so the tiny, I sometimes I forget to title them so that they're easy for people to find. At the end, just before we left, I did take a small tour. It's really hard to take a tour of a tiny house because really all you do is turn in a circle and you've seen the whole thing. If you try and like climb up into the lofts and everything, to me anyway, it feels like you kind of lose perspective of what the house looks like. And so I'm trying to think what I titled the last video I made before I left. I loved what it looked like before we left. I had the bench covered with a really nice cushiony bedroll. I had the wall, bless you, upholstered so that you could lean up against it like a couch. I was really happy with how nice it was to be in when we left. But I'm not sure that I ever really showed the storage loft very well because we didn't have a light or a window up there. There's a lot I could have shown. We were just kind of in a hurry to beat the weather, and I didn't get some of the videos made I meant to. Home Place Journal said, put white paper around the base of the plants that reflect more light and help the plants. Plus, it confuses bugs, so you have less problems with them. I like that. A lot of times I've used tin foil or like white fabric to reflect light back if I'm growing in a window. But again, our windows aren't big enough in this house, I don't think, to put plants in. I think I would have to have a light. So that's going to be interesting. I hadn't thought of that. Jenny Kurt said, wheat, Montana Flour Company claims their wheat is non-GMO. Just thought I'd share. Thank you very much.
They probably import their wheat from Canada then.
Oh, I don't know. Hard to know. Bridget LM says, my first year I did most in planters and pots, storage bins, etc. So I could move them around and get what they need as far as protection in summer and sunshine. I just wasn't sure where to put stuff. I think that's really wise. Your first year on a homestead, you really don't know where the sun is going to be. You don't know where your good soil is going to be. And so it just does make more sense to have things be movable. Let's see. My parents do that too. They only garden in containers. Kayla Shanowski said, hi, do you have a kimchi recipe video? I do. I think it says how to make kimchi or how to make radish kimchi. We did both, and it was so good. Diane Charles says, I love her braiding your hair. Yes, they like to play with my hair, and they take turns quite a bit. Paige's hair is almost as long as mine now.
She's like a 5.5-foot Barbie doll.
Okay, Miss Justice 007 said, thank you so much. I hope you all feel better soon. Thank you. I hope we feel better too. And we've had some really, right? we've had some really good weather in which it was easy to do work outside, but with the temperature swings, it's been hard to get outside. What I'm hoping is that we have some really, it doesn't have to be warm weather, but it needs to be dry, and it needs to be in like the 60s in order for me to go out and get the duck house painted. I've got duck house on the brain.
She wants ducks, ducks, ducks.
I do. I want ducks, ducks, ducks. We'll get muscovy so that they're not loud.
Duck, goose.
Exactly.
No goose.
And for those of you who got T-shirts, they should have started to arrive by now. And thank you so much. We have all sorts of little plans that we're working on and getting started and getting only started. They don't seem to be getting finished, but at least they're started. It's not, but because you guys did the T-shirts, it's not because we don't have money. It's just because the weather has been weird and we've been sick. Home Place Journal said Mylar emergency blankets work great as reflectors for indoor plants. I bet a bit intensive to use outdoors. Okay. Gypsy Lee said, do you have any good beet recipes? We like to steam beets. We actually have some in the fridge right now. We really like to steam beets. A few of you, hello, how are you? Well, John is here too.
Yeah, John's here.
He's here. I don't know if he wants to be shown right now. I could turn the camera so you could see, but I'm not sure he would invite that. No?
No, but hi everybody. He's having a bad hair day again.
Having a bad hair day. I think everybody who's had like steamed beets would love beets. Oh, we had the most terrible experience yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before that we had the Brussels sprouts?
Oh,
We bought-
I think that's coming up on a video, or wasn't it just? Yes, the video that came out today.
What?
The microwave.
Oh,
despise the
yeah.
microwave.
We got Brussels sprouts, frozen Brussels sprouts, and who knew that they put like this nasty slime on them? That's this buttery cornstarchy
You know, 'cause
goo.
you never expect slime from Brussels.
You never, well, Brussels sprouts are kind of an interesting vegetable by themselves. Why would you put butter on them? Oh, let's see. Okay. Justin Welch said, Merry Christmas. My wife and I love your videos. We've learned an amazing amount of valuable information from your channel. You have a beautiful day. Oh, thank you so much. That is very kind. That's what the yellow thing is. It's a, what do they call that?
Are you talking to me?
Is it Super Fund?
The yellow-
What
oh.
do they call that?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, guys.
But what is it called?
I don't know.
I don't know what that's
But
called.
it's a.
But
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
We really appreciate it. And we're glad you are learning. And I don't know if you guys have noticed that I've been putting a lot of clips from the homestead in. Sometimes where people haven't seen us on the homestead for so long, I worry that we lose some of our credibility about even knowing what we're talking about. And so by putting a lot of those old videos up, your turn?
Yeah.
And by putting a lot of those old videos up, I feel like I can say, here guys, I really do know what I'm talking about. I'm not just some nut that travels the country and doesn't know anything about gardening or livestock. So that's one of the reasons I've been putting, ow! Sorry, stop. Let's let Mom do that.
Some of the shrieking.
You just
Okay, go get a tissue. Go get a tissue. Go get a tissue. Go get a tissue.
I was laughing with my mouth full of tea.
Okay, so what was I saying? Oh, so one of the reasons,
That was my bad.
Daddy, can you
What?
address the children
Children will be interested in the other room.
without breaking anything? The other reason that I'm putting all these old videos up is that it just makes me happy. I like to look back at it and look at my little kids and think how cute they are, and look at all the food we were growing and really how cost effective it was and how much of what we did was free just for a little bit of effort. What's up? Said fried cabbage is delicious. I haven't tried fried cabbage. It is, you'll have to do it without water, honey, because that one has a little bit of perfume in it. Bridget LM said, money post is super chat. Ah, super chat. Thank you.
Super chat,
Can I
yeah.
just put some different words?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Hickory Hill Homestead said, hey, can't watch for long on processing beef broth. You have a beautiful family, gorgeous hair, and your daughter is wonderful to do your hair. I love following you even if I can't watch it all. Oh, thank you.
Beach
Well,
bro.
if you already know how to do what you're doing, it's not like you need to watch me. It's more of a, I love to share information. It's one of the reasons why we like to do the shout outs, the spotlights on other channels, is that if there's a channel out there that's doing something that I'm not doing, or they know how to do something that I don't know how to do, it's so nice to be able to share that information, to share their channel, because that way I don't have to reinvent the wheel to try and figure out what they're doing. They're sharing too. So I love YouTube for that. Danny Bull said, we put butter on Brussels sprouts because we put butter on everything. Well, and we put butter on Brussels sprouts, but why would you put it on the Brussels sprouts before you cook them? And why would you put cornstarch in them? It was just nasty. It was just nasty. If I want butter on something, I will put butter on it, please.
And then we put butter on
And
it.
then we put butter on it. Michael or Michelle, is it Michelle or Michael? Michelle Gross said, love all your videos, very inspiring. Thank you so much. Gypsy Lee said, be right back, got to check on my beef stew. You're also amazing. Dedine 256, why have you left your homestead? Okay, so we are homesteading where we are, and we are not at the homestead right now because John is in school. And the little homestead was fantastic, and we had our little house there, but we missed our dad, and so we are going to be here. Oh, stop! You just hooked my hair. Oh. Do you have a rubber band on your finger?
No.
Are your fingers sticky?
No. I washed them.
Okay. You totally like looped my hair around your finger and then pulled. Okay. Brown Coat Homestead said the only bad thing about Super Chat is YouTube gets 30% of it. That I didn't know that. That is something else. Little Mountain Ranch made it. Hello. Okay, so Little Mountain Ranch. I don't know if you guys know, but I have ebooks on my Etsy store. And the art in it, what had happened was that when I was doing the ebooks, my artist backed out 2 weeks before the ebooks were supposed to be finished. So we didn't get pictures in them. And what ended up happening was that my little girls drew the pictures for my ebooks. And the information in it was really good, but I didn't have any big, beautiful, wonderful pictures. And so now we are revamping the ebooks and adding new information to them. And we have these beautiful, the ebooks about goats and chickens and pigs. You weren't old enough to put art in it. It was mostly Paige's art. It would have been when you were super little. You would have been like 4, 3 or 4, maybe 5 at the most. But Little Mountain Ranch, they are doing the art for my new ebooks, and I'm super excited to show it to you guys. It's beautiful art, and the only thing is it's time consuming to get the books put back together. So eventually we're going to show that, and they will have other art on their website that will be on postcards and things like that. So Little Mountain Ranch is also, their channel is up in Canada, and they have a beautiful big homestead with cows and everything. So you guys should go check them out, Little Mountain Ranch. Jerry Arnold from Texas made it. Hello. Okay. Hickory Hill Homestead said, exactly, when I have only a few minutes, I only watch what would be of use to me, but your projects are great. Well, thank you. Robin South made it from Missouri. David Peterson said, I think you were better off near the Honeydew Carpenter. Are you going to go back to the Rocket Mass Heater? So with the Honeydew Carpenter, we were growing their channel for them while we were there, and the project that we were working on was the Rocket Mass Heater. I needed a Rocket Mass Heater, and we needed something to really showcase what his skills were. So the Rocket Mass Heater there was a project, as are all of my projects, where, I mean, we're really doing them in our family for real, but we try to showcase them in a way that helps another channel to get their name out there. Does that make sense? And so it wasn't that we weren't capable of doing what we needed to do there on our own. It was that it was a fun project to work on with another channel. Does that make sense? And so we're happy to be here with our daddy, and it is more important for us to be here with John than it is to be doing videos with other channels back home while he's here. We just really wanted to be here with our dad. Yes, thank you. What's up? We left the homestead to be with John, who is in school right now. Thank you. Sally NSE Silence. Are you doing more in the Etsy store in the new year? I love your makes and tips. We will be doing more with the Etsy store in the new year. We shut it down while I was on the road. While we were in the RV, I just shut it down. It was too hard to try and be spinning and sewing and making things on the road and do daily videos. It was just too much. I'm still not doing a lot of spinning and that kind of thing. I have my hats and my gloves and that kind of thing up in our Etsy store, but I limit how many I make. There's only so many hours in a day. And so what I'm really trying to push is things like digital downloads, things like that give you really good information, but that my hands don't necessarily have to touch it again. I can touch things up or add information as I need to, but I don't have to recreate the wheel every time somebody buys something. Another series I'm about to do is on sewing your own clothes, sewing aprons, how to dress for less, but look really cute. And so that's the new series that I'm kind of working on right now. Let's see. Justin Welsh said, we had no idea they get 30%. We'll have to find a better way to help support your channel. Well, thank you. It still means a lot to me. It still means a lot to me. A few of you said, have a wonderful Sunday to one of the best family channels here on YouTube. Oh, thank you so much. If you want to see some really good, what are they called?
Mukbang.
Mukbang?
Yeah.
She has the most amazing mukbang. So go check out A View is a View if you want to see somebody that makes you hungry every time that you're on her channel. Ashley Agrusa made it. Hello. Bert Skelton said they're adding weight, not food, like seasoned chicken breast. You're paying for brine, not meat. Oh,
that's exactly right.
Really? That's interesting. Oh, it was so gross. It was so gross.
What place?
Home Place Journal said, oh, so somebody else was adding that. Miss Justice 007 says, do you have any tiny home tours lined up of other tiny homes? So for me, I've lived in a tiny home for a long time now, almost 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Various tiny homes.
Various tiny homes over the, whether it be a little RV, the house we're in, or our tiny house back in the homestead. And so for me, the glamour of tiny homes has kind of worn off. We've never lived in one that is a legit tiny home as far as the one that's on wheels that can go places. We've never lived in one of those. And so I don't know what the difference would be between one of those and what we're in now. Maybe there would be a big difference. But what I really like to focus on is alternative building practices, more healthy building practices, amazing homes that think outside the box. Those are the kind of homes we would probably want to be touring. And to be really frankly honest, I would rather be gardening. We went and saw so many amazing places, like especially the earth ships. Oh my gosh, they were so amazing. That I'm really sad that people aren't paying attention to those videos, even though some of them were tiny houses. I really feel like sometimes the tiny looks beyond usefulness. I think there is a certain amount of space that you need to have in order to have some privacy, to have room to be able to cuddle as a family, to sit and read and be comfortable, to have a big enough kitchen you can cook in it.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, she has said she needs more space.
Yeah, we're in a very, very small house right now. I don't know how many square feet it is. 500?
This is a little over 500. It's probably closer to 6.
A little over 500. Oh my gosh, it's not claustrophobic. I think I will feel different about it once I have food storage under benches and other things. But when the weather isn't nice, it does start to feel not necessarily like the walls are closing in on us, but like we're on top of each other. Like even though we have spaces to sit and spaces for privacy, it still feels a little bit like we're on top of each other when the weather's bad.
Betcha.
One way that I think to really combat that is to have really fun outdoor activities that you can do. For instance, in January, the local YMCA has a no sign-up fee. And so for a family pass, we can go and get the whole family in for not very much a month. And that way I can take the girls to go swim. We can take them to yoga classes and get out of the house and get some motion. I'm sure there's amazing places around here to go see, but I kind of think I'm going to focus more on farming, growing food, and alternative building practices and thinking outside the box rather than just tiny houses. I feel like a lot of tiny houses that would be worth living in are so expensive. I think you'd be better off to build a bigger house, in my opinion. We saw some that were $85,000, $130,000. And yeah, they were mobile, but at least when you have little kids, I think mobility is overrated.
Now, to the general tiny house population, the ones who do like the 8.5 by 13.5 high mobile home that you pull around, understand that for the cost of doing that, you can buy a very, very, very expensive fifth wheel trailer and truck and have not necessarily the great quality, but it would be enough it would be perfectly adequate for a couple to live in. Now you will get stuff like the formaldehyde and the other things that come along with mass-produced stuff, but
Swamp Creek Cabin did that.
Uh-huh.
Can I interrupt there?
No,
Am I interrupting, or
no,
can I have a
good,
story?
because I was running
low?
out.
Swamp Creek Cabin did exactly that. They went and bought a trailer, an RV. They went and bought an RV, and they lived in it for the first year while they were getting their little house put together and built up. And they're still in the middle of doing that. And it cost them like $100 a month, that payment for that RV. And then when they were done with the RV, they sold it for the same amount that they bought it for. They might have even, if I remember correctly, they may have even actually made a little bit of money on it. And so I prefer the tiny houses that don't have the formaldehyde in it, if you were going to live in it long term especially. But I do think that, you know, if you can live in a little RV while you're building your home, or if you are going to be traveling, a little RV is easier for a normal size truck to pull. I do think the tiny house movement is important. I do like to live in a small space. I think if this place was designed differently, closer, like we've been in houses that were this size that were much better designed, that had more privacy, and the kitchen was a galley kitchen, so it didn't take up as much space. Those kind of things, a stackable laundry, putting your laundry room in your bathroom. There's ways to design it the same space so that it feels bigger, so there's more privacy. And we've seen, good job, honey, it's beautiful. Yeah, thank you. And so I think there's ways to design a tiny house to make it what you want it to be. I wonder sometimes if maybe the cost of doing that is in the end a little gimmicky sometimes.
Well, it's just to the point where the market has saturated and costs have grown to where it is no longer a viable option for the average person.
Yeah.
It has to be somebody who is very committed and almost religiously committed to
almost a zealot.
Yeah. Otherwise, you can build your own, but then you're putting in the effort, time, and also have to be very committed for that. So. Yeah,
I think what happens, like for us, we did it as economically as you could. We bought a tiny shed for $7,000, and then we did collaborations with people. We traded with people for goods and services to help them with their YouTube channels. We built their YouTube channels. They helped us with our cabin. And so it was a great bartering system for us. And so we have very little money into that shed. We have a lot of hours and we have a lot of plans into that shed, but not a lot of money. And what ended up coming out of it in the end was those little houses, if you're going to build them yourselves, they take a lot of time because you have to be careful about where you place everything. Every square inch counts. And so you can't just go in and lock, stock, and barrel, just put cabinets in and know that that's where you want them. At least in my opinion, you can't, because a lot of times you'll find that the placement was wrong and it would have been better here. And so it's a labor of love. I think it's very interesting. I think it works better as a playhouse than as something that you necessarily live in. if we're living in a normal modern society. If we had emergencies and catastrophes and things like that, I think a tiny house is better because you're heating and cooling less and you aren't keeping a lot of junk around. But as far as having a family live in them all at once, you need to have a big shed in order to store your food storage, that kind of thing, in my opinion. I could be wrong.
That being said, it's not like we're going to go get a 2,000 square foot average size home.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to live in anything bigger than about 600 square feet. I really like 600 square feet. That's what our first house was, and I loved it. We had plenty of space for food storage. We had lots of food storage. We even used the crawl space under the house for food storage. And we didn't have a second story. We had 3 bedrooms. They were small bedrooms, but we had 3 bedrooms, a really nice big kitchen. We had plenty of space. And I really liked that size. It felt very manageable. Okay, I'm missing so many comments.
Blue button. Start
Let's
fresh.
see. Oh, that's sad. Justin Welsh said, our chickens are our pets, our baby girls. 2 of them in the last 2 weeks have not been able to walk. They're in our house now eating well, but unable to stand. I don't want to euthanize them. Okay, so what kind of chickens are they? Are they meat chickens? Because if you've been feeding them too much commercial feed, they will go completely lame and they won't be able to walk. What we did with our meat birds, if that's what you have, Cornish cross, is they were free range and they didn't get commercial feed. They got wheat or rye or whatever kind of ground up grain we had from the local feed store that was like $4 a bag. And then they got alfalfa, they got goat's milk, and they got as much grass as they could eat. And we never had a problem with our chickens being unable to walk as long as we did not give them commercial feed. The commercial feed made them grow too fast. So Justin, is that the kind of bird they are? Are they Cornish crosses?
I have to move on.
Home Place Journal said we live in 682 square feet, but it is badly designed and inefficient. Yeah, the design makes a huge difference. Didine256 said, are you going back to Idaho once John is done with his studies? Well, we have to go back to help the renters set up water again in the spring and double check on goats. And if we are going to still be in this area, I'm going to bring my goats back once we have a real house. Not a student pad, which is really what we're in right now. Once we have a real house, we would be settling down and restarting another homestead there. I know the girls feel really strongly about going back and being in our old house, and they really miss that. And I really miss my garden. But did you want to explain why we wouldn't be staying in Idaho?
Well, Julie does not want to move into the old house. This would be the big house, the 2,000 square foot.
Yeah,
with the,
I don't want to live in a big house.
with about half again for garage. I don't like the climate of Idaho. The surgery and the arthritis and everything has just grown to be too much. And I think that the neighborhood does not necessarily like us doing what we're doing there. And so for all parties, it's probably better if we found a place that was more acceptable for everybody going on. So the only thing that may not necessarily agree with this is is my parents or the audience. We're sorry that everything is so dynamic, but it's kind of just what life is. It has to change from time to time. So.
I may have to figure out how to just take my garden with me. I could put it all in buckets like my mom does, and then when we go to a different homestead, I can just take all my food with me. It drives me crazy, leaving dirt behind. Okay,
Yeah, but honey,
Michelle?
You're not leaving dirt behind. You're leaving rocks. Thick
I have
bowling ball size
no. I have
rocks.
dirt. No, admit it. I have dirt.
There is dirt, but you made it.
I made
there.
it. I made it.
But you're putting it on top of rocks.
But it's dirt that I made.
Okay.
I did make
And
dirt.
you can make more.
Michelle Gross said, alternative housing. Have you seen my little homestead earthback homes? We have, and they look amazing. And when we were in New Mexico, we actually tried to get a hold of them so we could come do a tour, and they never responded. And so we were never able to get a hold of them to go see it, but we really wanted to. Okay. It said I plan on building an 8 by 20 by 13 for $25,000. And I think if you're going to do a tiny house and you want it to be economical, you really have to do it yourself for sure.
But there will be a man-hours cost in that as well.
Yeah, there's man-hour cost in it, and where's your family going to live in the meantime? I like the way that Swamp Creek Cabin did it. That they lived next to their house, so they, you know.
Okay. You building your own house. That's really awesome.
I'm just agreeing with you that you'll
Yeah.
have your man hours into it rather than dollars.
Yeah.
But I think you'll be happier in the end.
Yes.
I mean, here's the thing: is you can spend a lot of time and build something and save a lot of money, but in the end, your hair may grow really white very quickly. You know, or you can have somebody. You'll have the convenience of living in it now, but you'll have spent a lot of money on it and you'll have some kind of mortgage. I mean, I think that's really the trade-off. Gypsy Lee said, I tried a tiny house, but I wanted more space because I'm a crafter artist and wanted a separate space for those things. So I have my little not tiny house and it's just right. Yes, I think that's perfect. Home Place Journal said, tiny homes are a misnomer to me, especially if you're independent homesteading. You still need to cook. You need a cook area, storage for tools, animals, etc. Yes. Ashley Agrusa.
Well, hold on, let's discuss that point because it's true. You don't have room for storage if you don't have square footage at all. But
we had some.
And so you kind of you do have a trade-off because now you're talking about building and Kaya, stop at the door, please. You have a trade-off because now you're building a second building, which now tethers you to your land. So if you are homesteading, at least you have your land.
Yeah.
Where if you're just mobile and running around like an RV, then you can't do that. You can't have storage.
There was one from the tiny house in, was it Alpine?
In Colorado?
Was it Aspen? No, it was there in Provo. Alpine
okay.
Tiny Homes.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Tiny home, something.
Something like that. And he actually built a balcony on top of one of his tiny homes that was meant for garden boxes. And that you could just pull a plastic cover down on top of it when you were driving your tiny house so that it would shield your vegetables from the wind. And that looked pretty neat. It would be expensive and it would be heavy. You'd have to make the roof a certain way to be able to support all the water that's in a garden box.
Not to mention 2x6 walls at that point.
Yeah,
so
2x6 walls.
You're losing a lot of square footage at that point.
But it looked really neat, the balcony on top. Ashley Agrusa said, how did you find bum lambs? So I've raised bum lambs since I was 8. And so at that point, there used to be a lot of flocks of sheep still around in our area. Our area is big into ranching, sheep and cows. And so we had friends that had sheep and we would go out and pick bum lambs. And then later we knew of the government organization in our local area that had sheep and ran sheep on the range. And so we go and get those. But for several years, we didn't get bum lambs. We raised one of our bum lambs to maturity and we had her bred every year. And that's how we got our lambs for 3 years, maybe 4 years. She had our lambs for us that we would eat. And so you don't necessarily have to do bum lambs. You can just get good stock and breed. But we had a flock in our area that had a ram that we could use. So it wasn't like we were having to hold on to a ram sheep and feed him through the winter. We just used our neighbor's ram and paid him $20 to breed her every year. Mm-hmm. And she was a wool meat breed. She was a Suffolk, so she had good long wool. And her babies were meat breed sheep. So they would grow really fast because she was a big girl, but her babies were even bigger. She did a really good job for us. She was a good sheep.
She kind of got cranky at the end.
She was crazy by the end. We had a bad experience with the butchers coming, and after that she was not really ever, we ended up putting her down because it was traumatizing for all of us when the butcher misses the first time. Let's see, what else? Am I missing anything? Let's see.
Let's see if we can do test this time.
I'm sucking wind, said Dirt Patch. The guy selling the wood stove, does he take money orders? If you're looking for the little camp stoves, that is
Not bumping the table.
that is what is the name? Army Surplus Store.
Yeah.
East Idaho.
Any of your local Army surplus stores,
East-
look for the.
East Idaho Army Surplus Store, and he has a website. They do
What
have
are
a
they
website.
called? Not cantina stoves, or what are they?
It is a Army camp stove. Can we see your face?
Can you hit the blue button?
I have to see what everybody said.
Everybody and have to.
Gypsy Lee said, I want to plant a couple different tiny cabins in my woods with plans to rent them out as Airbnbs. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, Christy Bet says, LOL, it bothers me if I move to leave my compost. It really does. It's wonderful stuff. Okay, so Justin Welsh, I really don't know. I do know there are layers. I'm not an expert. We just pick different breeds. I know for mine, if I have them on regular feed, their legs start to bother them. Okay, so Bridget Ellen said Shay's Earth Bag Room on YouTube. We'll have to look it up. Michael? Am I saying it?
Michael? No.
Michael? Michael?
Michelle. Michael.
I said Michelle earlier, and she's
Oh, it's pronounced Michael. Okay.
Michael? Okay. Okay, I want to build a Hogan-style Earth ship.
Lots of conversation. Tell you what, if anybody is addressing us, just put the question in all caps, and that will be our key. Yeah,
it's much easier when it's all caps. Easier to read.
John, feeling braver now? No, I just realized that I was like, oh, if I'm going to engage in the conversation, I may as well be here with my lovely singing voice.
Bert Skelton said, build a raised bed garden that will fit on a used car hauler trailer with the collapsible greenhouse walls, a mobile garden. That's an awesome idea. Oh, Place Journal said, John, are you feeling braver now? Did you already read that?
Did you? Yes, where I responded.
Did you say it out loud?
Yes, where I responded.
I listened so well.
And it ended with my lovely singing voice. So.
I totally missed it.
See that? And we reached the end of the comments.
And we're almost out of battery. So if there's anything else we're going to say, we better say it. I don't remember what time we started the feed. Oh, so if you guys are interested, favorite books.
This one is not at all what I had hoped or expected.
I know, and be careful when you look it up on Amazon because they'll think you're talking about a different hotbed and they'll take you to all sorts of really awful places when in reality you want to know about gardening. That's not what they think you're looking for.
She has a knack for finding that sort of thing.
Yep.
And it's always a gardening.
And then I call John and I'm like, John, you won't believe what it pulled up for me.
This internet thing is horrible. It's a good time.
Bridget LM said we loan our house to we loat out house to county from property tax auction. Took my compost in trash bags, true story, haha, and all my bricks from around the veggie patch. Nice. I love that.
Here, rent a big trailer and just keep going back and forth. Yeah, I could see us doing that.
I'm getting hungry. I should go make lunch.
Never see getting people talking to you. It's fun.
I don't know what they're talking about.
Now that I show up, you're like, I'm leaving. We're done.
No, I just realized I'm hungry.
Oh.
Okay, guys. Any more pertinent questions?
Or thoughts?
Hello, Elaine.
Don't look up canning supplies. Got drug sites.
Why?
Interesting. Lid glass jars. I don't know.
Brown Coat Homestead said you started just before 1 o'clock Eastern time.
So it's been in just about an hour.
About an hour. Okay.
A little over.
I gotta go eat something, guys. Did you want to continue the feed without me?
I can't talk very long. I got nothing interesting to say.
They don't want to hear about TCP/IP protocols. They're just. Do you remember what I told you to remember? No.
Both
The
things.
DNS stack.
All right.
So.
Gypsy has beef still on the stove. I want to just come eat at your house. How does that sound?
Right.
We're 1 o'clock here and I haven't fed my kids yet. I've just chattered. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
I don't know if I remember how to turn it off. There we
Just
go.
like that.
See ya.